Are you going to just add to the debt and do everything Donald Trump tells you to do? Or are you going to stand up on some of these things and say, wait a minute, we're worried about the debt? Our job as Democrats is to make that case, to pick our battles. We're not going to pick every single battle. There'll be some things that are red lines, but we're in this. We're in this in a big way. And there's ways to make your case without being able to be the deciding vote. We realize that we're up against a lot with the votes, but we have a strong case to make about the debt, about their claims that they were going to stand up for average people.
Donald Trump's presidential campaign was run on three main promises, which are increasingly unpopular as we go down the list of them. Now, the first promise, and the most popular, is the one Donald Trump has already admitted he won't be keeping. And that's the promise to lower costs of both groceries and housing. Something Donald Trump is not only not going to do, but he's actually going to do the opposite with his second promise, a plan of mass deportation, which not only will cost our government billions of dollars a year and is immoral, but Donald Trump will also be making an almost incalculable negative impact on our economy with this plan. And if you thought that would be unpopular, just wait till you hear the third, which you already know. Donald Trump's promise to pardon January 6th insurrectionists, the same people whose chorus of the national anthem he played at his rallies, the same people Donald Trump praised as amazing and wonderful and patriotic, and the same people. Donald Trump just got caught hosting a party for now. Donald Trump's plan to pardon these violent criminals is incredibly unpopular, but his praise of them is even worse. And that's why when he got caught in this, he threw an absolute tantrum that we are going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me now. Before we get into Donald Trump's meltdown after getting caught, I want to hear the reporting on this party from MSNBC.
This morning, Donald Trump hosted a party at Mar-a-Lago last night. And that's not the news. The news is that the party was celebrating his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The guest list included several key players in those efforts, like Rudy Giuliani and Michael Flynn. Italy's conservative Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni was also there. They all gathered to celebrate John Eastman, who advised Trump in 2020 that Vice President Mike Pence had the power to unilaterally discard official electoral votes during the congressional certification process. In a video posted online, apparently taken from the audience, Trump sang Eastman's praises, insisting Eastman was, quote, right the whole time. Tomorrow will mark 4 years since Trump's conspiracy led thousands of pro-Trump extremists to storm the United States Capitol. Fortunately for Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris doesn't share his value set. Tomorrow, she will preside over the certification of Donald Trump's victory. Harris will protect the tradition of peaceful transfers of power as Donald Trump celebrates efforts to destroy it. Joining us now is NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard in West Palm Beach, Florida. Also with us is Boston Globe columnist and co-host of the Sisters-in-Law podcast, Kimberly Atkins-Storr.
Vaughn, welcome to you, both of you this morning. But Vaughn, give us a sense of this room. The audaciousness of it, just the in-your-face MFer, we're going to celebrate the overturning 4 years later of trying to overturn an election. You have, Trump himself saying, I'm a big fan of John Eastman. He was right. He happened to be right. That's why they changed the law, and nobody wants to talk about that. They said he's not allowed to do it. He's not allowed to do it, and they convinced him he's not allowed to do it. Our vice president, then right after the election, they changed the laws so he can't do it. Now, what he's referring to is the Electoral Count Act, which Congress did change to basically shore up the ambiguities in the 1887 law that Eastman exploited, that he used against the country. So what was the sense in this room? What was the purpose of this gathering? Is just an in-your-face moment, or just a tale of things to come?
Right. Let's be very clear. It was no coincidence that this event in which he welcomed not only John Eastman, but Michael Flynn, Jeffrey Clark, the man who had urged the DOJ to put out false statements about the 2020 election and who Donald Trump considered to make its acting attorney general before January 6th. They were up on stage. Rudy Giuliani was up on stage. Peter Navarro, who, of course, served 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress by not complying with the subpoena from the January 6th Select Committee. He was there up on stage, and they were all watching a film that was a documentary on the lawyer John Eastman, who you are talking about, who on January 5th, the anniversary being today, and January 6th, was urging then President Trump to pressure Vice President Pence to reject the electoral college votes coming from certain states, contending that he legally had the right to do so. And last night, while they were watching that documentary, it was happening in conjunction with Donald Trump welcoming Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, who sat right next to Donald Trump, between Trump and Marco Rubio, as they watched that film about John Eastman play out. There was a lot taking place, and to be brutally honest with you, guys, we did not know that this event was taking place in real time, and was watching these videos on social media trickle out as Donald Trump, just a day before the Kamala Harris is set to certify and oversee the counting of the Electoral College votes to make him the next president. He, here in Mar-a-Lago at Palm Beach, just across the water from where we're standing, welcoming those individuals who tried to help him overturn the 2020 election, being welcomed back to his estate here in Florida.
So, Kim, just to underscore what we just heard from Vaughn there, no pool camera, no editorial allowed into Mar-a-Lago for the events, no readouts provided. It's a little bit like they're telling on themselves, like they know that what they are doing doesn't pass the smell test. So let me read you what Donald Trump had to say as he praised John Eastman. He said, "I'm a big fan of John Eastman. You know, he was right. He happened to be right. That's why they changed the law, and nobody wants to talk about that. They said he's not allowed to do it. He's not allowed to do it. And they convinced him he's not allowed to do it. Our vice president. Then right after the election, they changed the law so he can't do it." So
the party that claims to back the blue is now throwing parties for violent criminals who attacked and killed a Capitol police officer on January 6th. That's what they're doing. We know the hypocrisy is just part of being a Republican, but they are getting so blatant with it. And as was indicated in that reporting, Donald Trump clearly didn't want anyone to know this was going on. The press was kept out of this party. There was no recording or reporting necessarily on it at first. But now that there is, Donald Trump is furious because he knows this is an unpopular plan, but he's also kind of at the mercy of his base that he has promised to do this. And so Donald Trump, reacting as he or always does with a complete meltdown, took to Truth Social to furiously rant about how he is being unfairly attacked for his assault on our Capitol in this post. Right here after getting caught throwing his January 6th insurrectionist party, Donald Trump posted, "There has never been a president who has been so evilly illegal, legally treated as I corrupt Democrat judges and prosecutors have gone against a political opponent of a president. Me at levels of injustice never seen before. Corrupt judges or judges so blinded by their hatred of me and my political ideology to make America great again are making a mockery of the United States judicial system, and the world is watching in disgust. Derange Jack Smith." And the evil and sinister prosecutor appointed by crooked Joe Biden to take me down was found to be illegally appointed by a corrupt DOJ and FBI, and all of his many charges against me were dropped or dismissed his illegal raid of my home. Mar-a-Lago will go down as one of the dirtiest tricks ever perpetrated by one candidate. A dumb as a rock, sleepy Joe Biden on another. With all of this said, I still have confidence that the appellate courts will bring justice to America. So obviously Donald Trump is no stranger to being a criminal. So he was talking about a lot of his cases there, but clearly very upset that he was slammed and called out for his specific attack on our Capitol, which somehow did not lead to his disqualification. And I guess we can thank Merrick Garland for that, for not doing his job soon enough, but that is a discussion for a different day. But what was discussed is how we still need to talk about Donald Trump's attack on our Capitol. And that is exactly what Amy Katchar did in this clip right here.
Joining us now to discuss, Senator Amy Klobuchar from Minnesota. She is counting the ballots tomorrow. She helped write the Electoral Count Act designed to prevent another January 6th tragedy. Thanks so much for being here, and Happy
Thanks,
New Year
Jake.
to you, Senator.
Great to be on.
Let's talk about security for tomorrow, because that's top of mind given the terrorist attack in New Orleans. You were part of a congressional review of security lapses about January 6th, and since then, some changes have been made. Let's bring those up. There's a new Capitol Police Chief, new leadership for the House and Senate Sergeant-at-Arms. The Capitol Police Chief now has the ability to ask for help directly from the National Guard during emergency situations. There are now 2,202 Capitol Police officers. That's up from 1,842. There's a new dedicated Capitol Police Civil Disturbance Unit with 6 platoons, more than 225 officers. And 4 years ago, only 25% of officers had riot gear, and now everyone does. Is D.C. prepared for whatever might happen?
Yes, and I'll make clear that in any of these events, as you saw in New Orleans, horrible things can happen, and we know that. But how prepared are we? And what we found out last January 6th, and this could have been any event, but this one is etched in our minds forever with the police officers dying, so many people hurt. We literally had cops that couldn't get at their riot gear. It was locked on a bus. A 4-hour delay to call in the National Guard because of some rule that had been in place that created a phone tree. Our architect of the Capitol, who's kind of the boss of a bunch of the employees, wasn't even there. So these were dramatic changes we made, 103 recommendations. And my job as chair of the Rules Committee was to make sure they got done. We have, as you note, a new police chief, increased morale, many hundreds of more officers, and we have a plan and a strategy in place. That's not to say there aren't threats all the time on members of Congress or on the Capitol. But I feel very strongly that we have made major shifts. What happened last time, where an officer's words haunt me forever on the police line, said, "Does anyone have a plan? Does anyone have a plan?" And the answer from the leadership back then was no. Now we have clear leadership in place.
Donald Trump is celebrating one of the darkest days in our country's history, an attack that he perpetrated on our democracy, celebrating it, praising the people who did so. And it is incredibly unpopular. And so we need to be taking every opportunity that we can to be calling it out. Not only because it was a horrible day, but like I said, Donald Trump's campaign was about promises that he pretends he's going to keep. And if all that comes out of his presidency is retribution against Liz Cheney and some pardons for the J6 insurrectionists, everyone who was so worried about the price of eggs shouldn't feel all that great about MAGA. And so if we can make it clear that that's what Donald Trump's focus is, his own retribution and his own, I don't even know, January 6th not protesting, but anti-democratic posing. Yeah, maybe the presidency isn't the smashing success that he's going to try to make it out to be. And so that's how we have the message. And that's what we're going to be talking about on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, you can leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, you can drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, see you soon.